Welcome, welcome, welcome. What a beautiful sight to see every single one of these amazing faces. People that have said yes before, experienced professionals, educationists, policymakers, NGO leaders. Really welcome to World Education Policy's Global Colloquium. It's back to school time. We want to make sure that our number one premise is present in everyone's mind. How do we make education truly accessible to every child? Today, this is what we will all be speaking from our expertise, our experience. You're not here by chance. You have been curated. You're part of a very important selected group of people that I know are going to not only give us insight, but most likely bring us solutions that you're already doing. The truth is that the UN established the SDGs. Number 4, which is access to quality education. We're still exactly the same place we were at before. So this is why today we reach out and speak. Welcome to this first Global Colloquium. It's really a pleasure to have you all here to gather and discuss. Education is a fundamental human right and a powerful catalyst for change. Yet, as we stand here today in 2025, it is essential that we are exactly where we were at 15 years ago. According to the UNESCO, over 260 million children around the world are currently out of school. We're not talking about young adults, teenagers, we're talking about children, primary school age, and this is very important. Many of you have seen the statistics. Many of you say, oh, I've seen this before. The truth is that this is not acceptable. And this is just not a statistic. These are children with dreams, aspirations, and potential. At the World Education Policy, we believe that a unified framework is vital. Our consortium of stakeholders, which you are all part of, educators, policymakers, parents, and community leaders, work tirelessly to ensure that no one is left behind. The work that we've been doing about research shows us who is ahead and who is below mark, but nothing is bringing that together. There is no reconciliation. This is what we need to do. Our mission is to develop and advocate for a comprehensive global education policy that guarantees equal access to quality education for all children, regardless of their background, their circumstances, or their ability. Here's some compelling facts that I want to share with you today. Children with disabilities represent approximately 50% of the world's population, yet 95% still face exclusion from educational systems. 95%, only 5% is included. In low-income countries, the rate of children finishing primary school is only 66%, compared to over 95% in high-income countries. This disparity is not merely a number. It signifies lost opportunities for countless young minds. What could they do if they had the opportunity? More than 400 million children and adolescents lack basic reading and math skills, reinforcing a cycle of poverty that can last a lifetime and generation. Education is the key to breaking this cycle, but we must make concerted efforts to ensure it is inclusive. I know life is not easy. I know situations are not perfect, but every single one from where we stand can definitely make a difference. And this is not a cliche. I hate cliches. It may sound like one. It is actually the reality. So today, as we engage in these discussions and we share our insights, let us remain focused on actionable solutions. Let's accelerate action. Inclusivity in education goes beyond just enrollment. It requires creating environments where every child can thrive, learn, and achieve their potential. I invite each one of you to contribute your thoughts. Really be free. If there's anything that you've tried and doesn't work, but if there's anything that you have tried and does work, bring it forth. I know that when we collaborate, we innovate, and we elevate as we strive to answer this most important central question. Today, I want you to leave knowing somebody that you've never met before and reaching out to them and have a global classroom, some type of global collaboration, any type of project. Don't leave today just saying, I participated in a really great event. No, leave today saying, I met two people that really inspired me and I'm going to reach out to them. This is why we do this. Actually, this is why Virginia Rivera exists. Because anybody can do a conference and anybody can be a speaker. But you're here today because you have changed. I've seen your results and I want you to bring them forward. Thank you for being here. Your voices and insights are invaluable. And I look forward to a dynamic and enriching conversation. Thank you all for being here. I would really love to start immediately recognizing IIU's contribution. You know, when you are a pioneer and when you break the mold, you will always have people against you. You will always have people that do not understand. You will always have people that will say, this is not legal, this is not right, don't trust. Time and time again, people ask me, why are you involved? Because I believe in education for everyone. And this is the largest platform in the world, 195 countries. I want to tell you something. This is not an easy feat, and this is not accomplished by everyone. So when you are here standing, presented, and powered by IIU, I want you to know that this is real. This reaches people that have a device and maybe a little bit of Wi-Fi at some point in their day or in their week. And they have an opportunity to learn something. So where we stand today, we are privileged. And I want to thank our visionary founder, Mr. Piyush Pandit. Because there may be many ways to do things, but the most important one is to take that first step. And this is why we're here today. 2021, we took that first step. And now we are all gathered. We've all experienced. So welcome. I really am very excited to start. And like I say, IIU is your home. World Education Policy is looking to have you as part of our incredible list of stakeholders. We need you. We need you here and we need you now. So now I would love to start with our first chief guest. And this is I haven't seen her in a while. And I'm so happy that she said yes. And that is Vilma Barbosa. Dr. Vilma Barbosa, she comes to us from Brazil. Vilma, the virtual podium is all yours.
Thank you, Sis, for having me here. It's a great pleasure being here at IIU again. I was missing it, in fact, I must confess. I love being here and learning from others, contributing, because education, as you said, it's the only way that we have to change our future, our next generations. Would you please allow me? I have a small presentation.
Okay, go ahead. Try.
Thank
you. Should be able.
Okay, here we are. You can see it, right?
Yes.
Perfect. So as today we are talking about a journey in an inclusive education. How do we make education truly inclusive for every child? And I couldn't have started my talk without talking very briefly about my own history. So I am one example as education can change lives. I am born from a very poor family who didn't have any money for anything. But because of a teacher, thank goodness I got the chance to study English. He gave me a scholarship. And those English classes brought me internationally. Recently, I have got the chance to be appointed as the UN Standing Committee member, and I will be working at the United Nations helping bring education to children from many different countries with different projects. And by the fact that today I am here talking with you at IIU, it's something really incredible. And this is for education. A poor girl from the community who had the opportunity to study, and today I am here, international scenario, with all of you because of education. That's why we have to think seriously about bringing education to everyone. And there are many poor communities, many poor people around, they just want an opportunity. like me. And how could we do that? Why it's so important, inclusive education. Why inclusive education matters. And inclusive education isn't just pedagogical approach. It's a fundamental human right, as Virginia said, and that can transform society from the ground up. When every child has access to quality education, poverty cycles break across generations. Economic growth accelerates by up to 2% annually. Social cohesion strengthens across communities, and innovation flourishes through diverse perspectives. Education is very important. Barriers to education inclusion. So there are many barriers, and today we'll be talking about it. Physical barriers. 240 million children with disabilities lack access to school with proper infrastructure. Here in my town, thank goodness we don't have this problem anymore because the town hall has been working hard for that. But we know that in many poor communities, they can't go to school. They can't, their parents don't have a car and they can't bring them to school. Cultural resilience, deeply rooted bias in 41 countries, prevent families from sending girls or children with disability to school because they don't have any help. Economic hurdles, hiding costs like uniforms and materials keep 58% million children from attending school constantly. And I always like bringing real projects that has been a success. And here in my town, I can share proudly that this month our kids received they had already received free uniform from school, but this year they received a warm jacket to go to school since here it's very cold. And this is the help that they are receiving to bring education into their lives. Pedagogical gaps. Only 26% of teachers globally receive training in inclusive education practice. And this is one point and that we are really worried about empowering teachers because they are the heart of change. When the teachers are happy, when they know exactly what they are doing there in the classrooms, they can make a difference. And many of them have poor salaries, many of them don't have the training they need. And it's pretty important that we train the trainer. And equipping teachers with practical strategies for diverse classrooms through immersive, context-specific preparation. Teacher communities, building support networks where educators can share innovations and overcome challenges together. And I am so happy to be part of many communities, and we are working hard to build these communities here in Brazil and across from the globe, training the teachers. Technology access, providing digital tools that multiply teaching impact and reach learners with diverse needs. We have to teach them how to use the technology in a smart way, not just for searching silly videos. Policy and partnerships for global education, so effective policy frameworks, and also searching for strategic partnerships. And IIU has been a great partnership with many institutions. You have been training the teachers, you have been bringing leaders all together, worried and making a difference. And I have seen the projects that I have been doing in India, in schools and universities and across the globe, and it's really important. And as Virginia mentioned, in 2021 it was the first step, and so far you have been wonderful work. For sure it is really inspiring, and many schools and universities should be doing the same. What is our call to action? What can we do together? Advocate and fight the voice of underserved learners in your community and policy discussions. Collaborate from partnerships across sectors to pool resources and expertise. Innovate, develop and test new approaches to reaching every learner. And invest community resources to scale improving inclusive education models. Together, we can create education systems where no child is left behind. As the United Nations wants, no one can be left behind. Education should be there for all, but unfortunately we know that it's not our reality in many places. Believe in education, believe in every learner. Opening doors. I am an example of that. Education unlocks pathways to opportunities. Today, I am having the opportunity to be inside the United Nations working with projects to help other people. That's because someone looked at me in the past. So breaking down barriers that once seemed impossible for learners of all abilities. Illuminating minds. When we believe in every learner's potential, we kindle intellectual curiosity for transforms understanding into wisdom. Transforming communities, the education can transform all the community, all the families, the neighborhoods, and the entire society. Shaping our future together, we can create a world where every child's unique talents contribute to our collective progress and shared humanity. Education is not about filling minds, it's about opening doors. When we truly believe in the potential of every learner, we transform not just individual lives, but entire communities and ultimately our shared future, because the children are our future. So let's believe in education, believe in every learner, and work together. You can count on me. I'm trying to do my best, and together we can change this world, bringing education into every child. Thank you so much for having me here. You are muted, dear.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Vilma, thank you. I'm
I
so
thank
happy
you.
with Dr. Vilma Barbosa because you had a great presentation. I thank you for making it on time also. But
Thank you.
one of the things that I think needs to remind us again and again is that every child, every brain, everyone is a learner. And if we give them the potential, we will
Yes.
definitely see beautiful things unfold. But most importantly, we will see a better world. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Our
Thank
next
you.
guest today is Dr. Oliver Ramavia. Dr. Oliver, are you here? I see your pic. Dr. Oliver? If not, I'll move on and we will come back to him. Okay. So while Dr. Oliver gets ready, because he is here, he's just not at his seat, I would like to welcome Hermina Raescu. Hermina Raescu is an important part of IIU. Hermina has been working with International Internship Universities in 2022. She's a face that we all recognize and that we all love. Definitely, Hermina has never wavered. She has always believed, and she is here. She believes in education, and today she's a foreign affairs educator, foreign affairs director at James International School in India. And this is the new village, and I have to say, this is a model school. This is a global classroom school. They have a global curriculum, and if you ever have an opportunity to visit, this is one of the institutions that you should definitely go to. So, Hermina, without further ado, the virtual podium is yours.
Thank you so much, my dear Regina, for your beautiful welcome. Good evening from the heart of India. It is a proud honor to be here with you today as Director of Foreign Affairs at James International School, a school built not only with bricks, but with vision, with love, and unwavering belief that every child matters. At the James International School, we believe that education is not about shaping children to fit into the system, but about shaping system to fit the child. That's why what we've built is not just a school, but a living vision, one that embraces a global curriculum, inclusive value, and the unique rhythm of each soul information. What does inclusive education truly mean? We talk, we find a lot of materials, we find a lot of theory. But I invite you for a moment to close your eyes. Imagine a school as a mighty tree. You know all that I am a lover of nature. The trunk means knowledge. The branches, skills. The leaves, dreams. But the roots, what are the roots? The roots are the children, all of them. with all their differences. The child who speaks another language, the child with a disability, the quiet child, the bold child, the child from a distant village, the child with another color, another rhythm, another way of loving the world. Without even one root, the tree begins to tremble. Without even one child, education loses its purpose. What is the meaning of education? What is the meaning of education if I have a class that is uniform? Yes, everything is same. You may open your eyes now, because what we truly here to do is open your eyes, open our minds and our hearts to a new paradigm of education. Inclusive education does not mean placing all children in one room, yes, in one classroom, and saying, now you are all equal because I want this. It means asking ourselves every single day, did the deaf child here with my heart today, was the blind child truly seen through my presence? Did he feel me in the classroom? Was the traumatized child here with compassion? Did the child from another culture feel they belong here? Feel what I want to transmit, to tell? If the answer is yes, then we are no longer building walls. We are giving them wings. Because so many times I'm feeling that we are so lost in theory, so lost in give exams. By this theory, I say always the curriculum is just a skeleton, and they are the bones from the skeleton means branches of the tree, means the education is just a structure, and we can develop, we can do in our manner how we feel this. And let me tell you something. Have you ever seen a child? Because today I was announced that a small child from my class, a generation, gold generation, how I say that, I love them so much. And I just received a message now, 5 minutes from his mother, that he took the biggest qualify on the national exams. And he, at the beginning of his journey, at the beginning of his journey in class, yes, in the first class, he was such an emotional kid. He didn't have trust in him. He always cry. But I find in him that seeds of power, of knowledge, of a leader. And I told this to the parents. And today they tell me, thank you. For me, is the biggest gift in my career. Because they told me thank you. It's because of you. You seen. And I seen his soul, I seen his potential, like you all educationists do. Have you ever seen a child silent and focused, digging in your flower pot with a little spoon? Your first instinct may have been to stop him. But the child wasn't trying to destroy, not at all. He just wanted to see what was hidden beneath the soil. Yes, inside the soil. That was not mischief. That was not a mistake. That was education in the purest form. Curiosity, discover, wonder. At our school in GIS, James International School, we don't take the spoon away. Yes, we don't take. We offer a magnifying glass. We open a garden. We ask, what else would you like to find? At James International School, we have built a global integrated curriculum, and we will have soon a book of this curriculum, and I'm so proud of this because it's the result of 3 years of work and so much research, and it's different. This global integrated curriculum one adapts not only to the child level, but to their humanity. You can be, for me, doctor, to have so many 20 degrees, but if you don't have that humanity, it's nothing. Our education comes alive in nature, under the trees, in art, in dance, maybe in the silent expressions, in the language of the word, in the global project, in empathy and collaboration. It is not a frozen system. It is a living, breathing ecosystem built for every learner. I want to express my deepest gratitude to the people who made this dream possible, to our founder, Advocate Pesh Pandit, who envisioned a school without borders and had the courage to build it. Virginia, for your always support. To our teachers, builders of characters, not just to transmit of knowledge, but they are here. They do this work as a team. They do this work with heart. And it's so important to have a team from the beginning of the school. And above all, I want to thanks to the children, the students, the honest mirror of the world we want to leave behind. Because when you want to see your quality as an educationist, I'm thinking always, you can take a look to the student. They will show you what you teach them and what you create. They are our art, our paint. I always say as an engineer at my base that I am an engineer of souls. Yes, I was there from the very first brick, and I will continue to be there at every step forward toward a world where education doesn't exclude, doesn't standardize, and never punish curiosity. Inclusive education is not a favor. Remember this. It is a fundamental right. It is the beginning of peace, because we talk about peace. Yes, was the week of the peace. It is the guarantee that every child can plant their roots and open their wings, because I believe in that wings. I believe we give them wings. And if one day you see a child digging in the soil with a spoon or whatever instrument, don't stop him. Because maybe in that moment, he dig him way toward the light. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ermina. I love Ermina's communication. It's always from the heart, and it comes from experience. I have to say, and I reiterate, please visit us in India. James International School is definitely a gem, and it is shining a lot. And it's thanks to leadership like Ermina, the work that she's doing, and the amazing work that our faculty does. They have been with us already for 2 years. This is a great experiment that went well, and a lot of you have already been able to visit us, and we do hope that many of you continue to visit very soon. Thank you, Ermina, for the amazing work that you do. Thank you. Our next guest today, and she's no guest, obviously, she's part of our team, she's part of our family. She's a training consultant, a global educational leader, and she is IIU's ISDU president. So she's in charge of all those international students that join IIU. Let's welcome our dear Maha Shadeh. Maha, the virtual podium is all yours.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be with you today. I would like just to make sure I can share my screen.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. So first, I would like to thank Virginia for giving me the chance to be with you today. And as she mentioned, I'm not a guest. I'm proud to be member of IIU team. Today's topic is very important with respect to us all. All of us know that I chose to start my presentation with the well-known quotes. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Whatever the situation, whatever the area you live in, I believe that only through education we can do a change, especially when it comes to investing in resilient education system for vulnerable children. If I want to speak about, especially, I'm going to speak about the inclusions of educations in conflict, in area where we have a conflict zone, addressing the profound challenge of conflicts on learning opportunities of children. Our focus, our focus in IIU and as educator is no child is supposed to be left behind. But living in an area where we have conflict zone, this is affected children a lot, and we have urgent imperative children. They are living in crisis. If we are going to speak about the crisis, especially on the global scale, we have, unfortunately, even though we are living in an advanced age, we still have big million of children who are affected by conflict and who are affected by crisis worldwide. We have a big number of students, of children who are out of school due to emergency. And also, if I want to speak specifically about my country, due to the recent war, due to the big number of refugees we have a big number of children who are still left behind. What we are supposed, if we are going to speak about such situations and the main conflicts we are facing in the area, the children faces in areas in conflict zone, that we face a problem with the infrastructure damage. The school itself in certain area are destroyed, so it's difficult for children to have a chance to visit the schools. We have a big number of the teachers are impacted, whether by the economic situation in the country they live in, or sometimes, for example, due to the book loss they are encounter. Living in such area, sure, this is affect the children psychological states. They are live with mental health conditions, and sure, with such conditions, we have a digital divide. Only 30% of the refugee actually they have internet, because living in such area and destruction, we don't have security, we don't have stability. So normal, the digital divides are not going to be stable for all the people. What we are supposed to do in such a situation? In order to bridge the gap with digital learning, actually, it's very important to implement just the platforms for continuity. So in case we are not going to be able to reach the children face to face due to the situation, at least we are going to implement a certain platform in order to give them a chance for continuity. Connectivity is very important, or mobile learning hubs, especially in areas in such area. Solar powered tablets also are very important in order to preload with education material, and we don't have to deny the role or the global impacts of NGOs such as UNICEF Learning Passport, which is available for countries that are facing in the conflict zones, such as Lebanon and the area here. What we should take into considerations is to, in order to make sure that children are learning in such area, we need to take into consideration, very important to take into consideration the trauma itself, the teacher they are living in, and the students as well. So it's very important to train teachers to support the students experience such a trauma. And here we are really grateful for many online universities that, especially that develop nowadays, are giving a free training courses for teachers in different topics. Very important also to have a professional development in how to use such a platforms in order to ensure that these children are not going to be left behind. You need to equip also teachers with emotional support themselves, and it's not just to train them how to deal with the student. The teacher themselves, they are supposed to offer just emotional support in order to be able to deal with the children, because we don't have to deny the fact that the teachers themselves in such areas are living in bad conditions and in bad situations. And it's very important to take into consideration how to provide them with fair compensations model in order to retain a qualified educator. When it come to conflict zone area, education is very important, but prioritizing the well-being and protection is also important, because when children are not going to be happy, when children are going to suffer, they are not going to be productive. So it's very important to take into consideration, if we want really to have education, to embed mental health and psychological support into school curriculum for such types of children. So it's going to be parallel with each other. So we are going to make sure that the children having a good mental health, a good well-being, in order to be productive and in order to be active in the learning process itself. We need to create a child-friendly environment, if we are able, for healing and play-based learning. And also, we don't have to forget to connect the school with the vital health and the nutrition services, because unfortunately, in conflict zone, we have areas where children, they don't have enough to eat, they don't have just enough to take care of their health. Protection mechanism is also essential to implement the child protection policies in educational settings. So when we ensure that such types of children are going to have at least some care mentally, and as well, if we want to talk about the physical condition, this is going to help not to leave them behind. When it comes about all of that, sure, we can do that without sustainable funding and policy advocacy. So it's very important to increase funding in such area, because due to the economic crisis, due to the problem they are facing regularly, so they need funding, humanitarian aid, in order to allocate it for education. We need a commitment to secure predictable, sustained funding from international donors. We have many organizations, especially the one who take care for children. They pay special attention to guarantee that children in such places are going to have at least their the basic needs they have it. And also, we need a national integration. We need to support the policies that integrate the refugee children into national education system, so we guarantee that they are going to be able to be like other children. In another word, having at least the rights for education and the right just to live in peace. We need to strengthen the collaboration with the local NGO or the international one and government, because through the help and the funding of such communities and NGOs, we can guarantee at least the basic needs of children and guarantee at least they are going to have their education. Here also, we need the building resilience when it comes to conflict zone, and we can't guarantee education if we are not going just to build resilience. This is going to be achieved through many things, working on a complete framework, starting with the community engagement itself to empower the local solution. As I mentioned earlier, to support the teacher, to equip, the framework is supposed to include the community. It's supposed to include the teachers, supporting the teachers with their needs, with their training or facilities. Focus on the well-being and the protection of the children and mental health as well, because education is not going to be essential if we are not going to be safe. So the main priority is safety and mental health. In such a way, the children are going to be able to educate. We need to advocate for a long-term investment, and also we need to make sure, very important, to make sure that this community, such places, are going to have a digital tools, because it's going to be at least a solution in case, for example, they are not going to be able to go to school due to war or any other problem. So such elements all together can help build resilience in such area and can guarantee that such types of children are not going to be left behind. We need also together, if I want to speak about the solutions, I just try to finalize it that alone, if we are going, whatever the situation we are going to be in, whatever the conditions, whatever the problems or I don't know, the damage, the destruction. If we believe we can achieve together, we can work together, at least, for example, that to make sure that they have the chance to be educated. We need to establish the community. We need at least to have the community learning center for such types of people, to establish safe and accessible learning space. We need to take into consideration the parent-teacher associations together, because parents, they can boost engagement, they can improve the attendance of the children in such area. We need to take into consideration the local leadership, the trained, the community member, and the facilitators at the monitor also. And we don't have to forget the YAS program, which can foster peer-to-peer education and leadership development. As a whole, if we want to just to combine all this together, at least we're gonna make sure that such children are not going to be left behind, and at least we can have inclusion for them. At the conclusion, I just want to say that education actually is a fundamental human rights, not a privilege, actually, especially in a crisis zone. If we are going to have a just work together as a government and NGO, donor, communities, teachers, educators, people who are in love with education, we can actually invest in a child mind, because when we invest in a child mind, we can build a nation's future. So we hope that many can join us in making education truly inclusive. Thank you for giving, I did my best in order not to take a lot of time. Thank you for giving me the chance to be with you today.
We don't hear you.
Yes?
Thank you, Makedonka. Thank you.
Yes, now we can hear you.
I said that thank you, Maha. Maha is such an important part of our family here in IIU, and definitely bringing education to countries torn by conflict is probably the most pressing of the challenges of our time. Time and time again, we see it, and we see the news, we see the media, and sometimes we become desensitized. We don't feel. These regions that are afflicted by violence, instability, and humanitarian crises, the most impacted are the children. Education in these contexts, as Maha was saying, it's not just about academic knowledge. It serves as a beacon of hope, of resilience and peace. And definitely we should all be using our voices. And any connection, anything that we can do to make sure that these children and learners that have been separated from the opportunity to learn can actually do it even during these hard times. There are many, many things to consider. But thank you, Maha, for bringing us a clear and succinct way of how we can actually reach out. Thank you. Thank you. And Maha comes to us from Lebanon. And as you know, Lebanon, one of those countries that very recently had some very pressing challenges. And I know they're trying to get back to normal. But thank you. Thank you, Maha. Our next guest speaker, it comes from the United States. She is a global UN ambassador. She is an educationist, and sustainability is in her veins. This is Maria Santiago. Maria Santiago recently joined us, and I am so excited to have her as part of our team. She is our Chief Sustainability Officer at Mahila Udiami, and I am thrilled to have you here with us today. The virtual podium is all yours, Maria.
Good morning, everyone, and guest speakers, esteemed presenters, and esteemed also team from IIU and Dr. Virginia Rivera. Thank you for this opportunity. Actually, what I do for a living is I work, what Virginia mentioned is what I do as pro bono volunteer work. When I give back to the community. But what I do for a living is make sure students with disability have access. So I'm going to show you a presentation, and I tried to focus more on policy making. I heard what all of you have been saying, and I'm going to start sharing. It has many slides, but I'm going to share it later with you. And also I am going to summarize. One more thing before I start the presentation. I wrote a chapter on inclusive education 2-3 years ago with 3 professors of Harvard. So I'm going to put the link on the chat as well. And in that chapter, the research was done right after COVID, and the impact of the the inequality was basically girls and women. And I remember trying to remember, these girls did not have access to education because they got married earlier and they were sent to work. And also the lack of accessibility and to internet and resources. So let me start sharing my presentation. And
It says share. Do you see a little green? Do you see it there?
yes. Okay. So I'm going to start right now. Start presentation.
We can see it. Perfect.
Okay. So when we talk about inclusive education, well, in my experience, I work with students with different abilities, but it includes also gender, socioeconomic differences, and also we have to remember linguistic differences as well. We might have students that comes or learners that come to our place from different languages, especially now that we are receiving refugees in all parts of the world are receiving refugees from other countries into their countries that they have to adapt to the language of the country they're getting in. There are 3 documents that from the get-go establish how inclusive education should look like globally. The first one is the Convention on the Rights of the Child, developed by the UNN. The International Legal Framework there are 2. The Salamanca Framework for Action that was written 31 years ago. And they focus more on students with different abilities. I don't know what's happening, but I can't go enter. Okay, let me move on. I think I mentioned that and I'm not going to. Now, equity and non-discrimination. What is equity in one country? It looks different in a different one. And I'm going to talk about that more. Regardless of disability, gender, ethnicity, and language, everybody needs access to learning opportunities according to this document. Well, how does that going to look like? This is something that each country needs to, from the work perspective, make an assessment, and needs assessment to see what will equalize education for the students. The key strategies, I'm going through each one right off now. Context-specific policy design. In this area, some countries might need new laws, new regulations. But let's be honest, laws and regulations are just words in a paper if there's lack of resources and lack of funding and lack of a governing body who can determine or ensure accountability and that those things that the law says are happening. Because we're going to have a law that is not being enforced because we don't have the governing body to go in the schools or in the education system to make sure those things are taking place. So funding and policy making goes hand in hand. The phase implementation in countries that are going to update their laws or regulations for increase or make sure there's more accessibility or equalize education for all. They should start with a little group first and like a pilot and see according to their needs and the resources they are getting how to implement it in bigger spaces. Okay, I'm going here. There are 2, I would say, strategies that need to go in tandem at the same time. Capacity building. With capacity building, that means that, okay, we need to make sure our staff and our educators, the educators in that country, are receiving the professional development, the training, to make sure they're using best practices that makes learning inclusive to all. Also, we also have to make efforts to make sure that resources are available to those teachers and students. The professional development is continuous. In my research, I found that we use universal design of learning. And what I like about this approach is like we're looking at to have the least restrictive environment for students with disability and students of different linguistic abilities, different backgrounds. And for that, we need to have an approach where we are teaching in a Gen classroom without segregating, oh, these kids need this, they're going to get separately. Although we're trying to be inclusive like that, but when we talk about inclusive, we have to remove segregation from our environments. And for that, we need to create lesson plans. We need to clear a curriculum that shows the same material with different types of representation, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and also assessments. The assessments, okay, some students will do it on a tablet, others will do it in pencil and paper, and others will do a performance test. So by removing all those, by giving all the students the ability to learn through their learning preferences and abilities, we're removing those barriers, and we are avoiding by default to segregate in our classes because of their needs. But that comes with a lot of training, so teacher training is fundamental for this. And then student engagement and voice. It's important that the students are front and center and they provide feedback. We need to empower our learners so they can determine what is the best way for learning. Are they auditorial? Do they learn in a group work? Do they want to learn by themselves? Do they prefer to study alone? Do they prefer videos? And this is conversations and assessments or surveys that we can show to them. And with that information that we receive from those students, then we can start including in our learning episodes or teaching episodes, those accommodations for them. At the same time, that we are empowering them because we're telling them the best way to learn. We're teaching them the best study skills according to their learning preferences. We're equalizing education for them. In relation to funding and policy, I saw in the presentation before, partnerships. This is very important. Some schools discard books and technological devices that might be a treasure for the students in another country. And these are conversations, and these are partnerships that we have to work on to make sure that goal of books and a bunch of computers that are going to be tough because they're not usable anymore, or not usable because they're being updated, they can be sent to a country where the students need access to technology. For students that live in rural areas that have probably critical access to learning and technology, we can send a bus with a hub that has in that hub the technology and the devices, and a certain time of the day those students can go to the bus and have access to those devices if they don't have devices at home. We gotta be creative in ways that we can access to the students that need it the most, that live in marginalized communities or who live in levels of poverty, to make sure they have had those experiences. Another thing is to also make sure our countries, the different countries, know what their industries are and what industries they need the most learners to prepare those students or those learners to work in that workforce. Because yes, we want an education, but we want our our learners be part of the workforce of our countries. And equitable funding, accessible facilities, and the challenges that she mentioned before. Nearly half of countries still lack robust policies against disability-based discrimination within educational systems, and many do not have guaranteed adequate support for integrated classrooms. Community and family involvement is the key. Parents need to be part of the conversation. In some cultures and in some countries, it's going to be a little bit more challenging than the other ones. But once parents understand our approach and what we're trying to do, to include the benefits of education and the social mobility that their family will have as a result of being educated, they will cooperate. Equitable fundings are distributed to address disparities. We can also, in relation of funding, because this is critical, we might need to go to corporate world for donations, fundings, and grants to make sure those countries that the children need access to education since early years can help them. And making education truly inclusive for every child is a complete but achievable goal is complex. It demands coordinated policy action, system reform, and a commitment to equity at every level, local, state, national, and international. And we're talking here about work policy. I hope that after this presentation of this conference, global policy document can be developed with the input of many of us and other people that might be willing to be part of it, and use it as a checklist to compare what's happening and what should be the goal, and what can we do to the benchmark, the goal, and the steps for implementation. And this is my presentation, and I hope it has been. I have given some information that is useful.
Thank you so much. Definitely so much information. Let's unshare and then we will. You know, I have to say that bringing education to students with disabilities, and thank you so much, Maria Santiago, is a vital step toward creating an inclusive and equitable society. And like you said, equity does not look the same for everyone. Education should be a fundamental right for every child, regardless of their physical, cognitive, or emotional challenges. So thank you for bringing this to our attention. Now I would love to invite Makedonka Dimitrova. She comes to us from Macedonia. I have to say that she is a global education leader because she does so many things, but education is intertwined in every single one of her projects. She will tell you a little bit more about what she does. And I know she does have an emergency she has to attend to, so this is why we'll be moving some places. Makedonka, the virtual podium is all yours, and thank you for saying yes, even when you're going through this hardship. Thank you. We're all with you.
Thank you very much, Virginia. I would like to start. Do you hear me well?
Yes, we can, perfectly.
Super. With one sentence, that inclusion is not just an educational approach, it is a value. And inclusive schools, doesn't matter if we are talking about primary, secondary, or tertiary education, lay the foundation for inclusive societies. Because what we teach young people, then they serve it and they include it in the societies, in the organizations where they would work, and they would continue teaching the new generations on what we have laid the foundation for. Before I start with a few important things that I wanted to get across, I would like to share a conversation that I had 2 days ago. During summer months here in Macedonia, I ran a small boutique hotel, and I had a guest that was blind from Iceland traveling with his son. And I told him about this colloquium that we're having today. And I asked him, what would you say? Because you are a person with evident disability, if you were invited to speak. So he said, maybe one of the most important things is to actually put people without disabilities in a position that we find ourselves every day. So we discuss the example of the restaurant Dinner in the Dark. This is a franchise. Maybe some of you know about it. Maybe some of you don't. But it was started in Berlin, in Germany, by a blind person at the age of 30-something. It's complete dinner in the dark. And they use a very simple notion, because people like me, for example, that can see everything, when we go in dark, we don't know how to react. We don't know how to navigate. So they use the notion of the clock. And there is one blind person next to each table to help people dine. And one dining is between 90 minutes and 2.5 hours with only simple approach that we are not used to this. And he said, if you have a blind person do that, it would be a normal dining time, between 45 minutes and 1 hour in a relaxed atmosphere. And then I thought and discussed with him, so how we can do this, for example, at university with my students. He says, well, maybe you can make a day where you would have wheelchairs, for example, and have people that don't have any disability, put them in a wheelchair and ask them to navigate, have people have a strap on their eyes, and also try to spend the normal time they would spend at the university, so that at least they could, you could get the closer to their living environment. What does it mean to have a disability? And of course, inclusiveness is not just having people with disabilities, but having pupils from different educational backgrounds, from either urban or rural areas, and how to integrate basically them into one educational system. So what is an inclusive school, if we ask ourselves? It's a learning environment where students, regardless their ability, background, gender, race, or social economic status, learn together in a respectful and supportive atmosphere. It basically, this notion reflects the principle of education for all and promotes, now I'm talking from a perspective of the European Union, but European Union perspective also supports the UNESCO perspective of principle education for all. Why inclusion matters? Research show, coming from an academic background, I rely on research. So research shows that inclusive education leads to higher academic achievement, better socio-emotional development, and stronger civic participation. It basically helps reduce dropout rates and increases resilience and adaptability of students and pupils. And if we have the higher education and the primary education as connector towards achieving and actually reducing the dropouts when we get to the university level, if we look at the numbers of the European Commission report on inclusive education from 2022, around 15% of the students in EU higher education institutions report having special educational needs or abilities. So 50%, that's a big number of our learning environment that needs to be supported. Yet, only 1 in 3 universities across Europe have comprehensive inclusion strategies or accessibility plans. Students with disabilities are twice as likely to drop out of universities compared to their peers without disabilities. An Erasmus Plus inclusion and diversity strategy from 2023 showed that fewer than 10% of international mobility students came from marginalized or underrepresented groups. So we need to act upon all of this. And who are we and what can we basically do? Build accessible infrastructure, and some of the presenters have already mentioned that, and we have also seen pictures of such an inclusive atmosphere. First of all, build ramps, elevators, visual and auditory aids. I would say at our university, for example, we built the ramp, but I haven't seen anybody use the ramp in 7 years because the ramp is there, but it's not the right one because it's too steep, and people with disabilities cannot go up to the ramp. So it's not about just meet the requirements of the laws. We don't need laws to be human and to act in a civilized manner. We need to listen to ourselves and start from ourselves. What if we had such a disability? Flexible curricula and teaching, tailored approaches to difficult learning needs. I see in my environment, instead of having schools where more than one language that locals speak would be spoken and taught, we have schools that are only Macedonian, only Albanian. This is already segregation, and we are talking about coming together. And that brings us to inclusive policies, also anti-bullying, because it's not just us, the grown-ups, but we also need to support and react upon the needs and understanding of the environment of young people, because there is a high level, at least in my society, high level of bullying among youngsters. Gender sensitivity and other support services for young people that might need. And to support all of this, we need the trained teachers, educators equipped to embrace diversity and basically adapt the instruction manner to meet the requirements of the inclusive environment. So inclusive schools create future-ready citizens that in future would be collaborative, empathic, and open-minded. Classrooms to be diverse, dynamic, and full of potential, and studies to show that students from inclusive settings perform either equally or better in core subjects than those from segregated environments. So I would say Macedonia's, Europe's, world's future starts in the classroom. So let's create schools and universities together where every student has the opportunity to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Makedonka. I'm going to hop in here. I'm Andrea De Silva. I really appreciated how you underscored in your opening that inclusion is a value. And so it's almost to say, we neutralize a little bit so everyone can feel welcome and inclusive. And it builds a better understanding by also lessening any stigmas that some individuals may have around the idea that some people have a certain type of disability that makes them look different. So we neutralize the differences and underscore the commonalities, and also highlighting the right for everyone to access a quality education. So bravo. I wish you
Thank you.
your
Thank
utmost
you.
in all of these efforts. And I wanted to add, just on our previous speaker, Maria, maybe you'd like to start a Google document that where we could look at the best practices you were discussing and the teacher training that's also inclusive. And I see this nice common thread between all of the presenters. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Well, disabilities, are the same. Doesn't matter which level in education you are, they become more emphasized as people grow. And if we don't recognize those, and if we don't integrate these people, they would become introvert. And then we have a disparity in the environment, and we don't want that. We don't hear you, Virginia.
Okay, I forget. Sorry, people. I have so much noise here, but yeah, I said, Makedonka, I really wanted you to be here, and I really appreciate because with all the experience that you have and all the passion that you talk, we really see that sometimes it doesn't take such a difficult structure to get things done because it starts with us. It's really acknowledgement. It's really wanting to do your best. It's really using your resources, what you have, to include. So thank you, Makedonka, for being here with us today. Andrea, I want to welcome Andrea Da Silva. Andrea is part of the core team here at World Education Policy. She is one of our biggest researchers and also an advisor. She's a principal at the ADA Advisory LLC. This is a global business and international development consultancy. I have to say she's probably one of the smartest people I've ever met, and very, very eloquent. She is a continuous learner, and I have to say that personally, I look up to her and her comments and everything that she does. So I think that you are perfect in the moderator piece after every one of our speakers. So thank you for being with us today. Also, Andrea comes to us from the US and Norway. She's from Norway. And as you know, Norway has one of the best inclusive educational programs in the world. So we'll talk a little bit about that later. So thank you, Andrea, for saying yes and for being here with us today. Now we would like to bring to the global stage Dr. Jaya Sajnani. She is an entrepreneur. She has a wonderful business about discovering talent. She also is a bridge builder, bringing students to the right place at the right time around the world. And additional to this, she is an important part of IIU and of Mahila Udyami. And I am very happy that you waited because I know you're super busy today. And I want you to tell us in a few minutes, because I know you said it's only a few minutes, your piece. So thank you and welcome to the virtual stage.
Thank you so much, Virginia. And I'm a proud member, and I would say I'm a proud contributor to IIW or IIU and Mahila Udyami. I am looking forward a lot together, collaboration and moving forward in near future as well. So hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Jaya Sajnani. As Virginia already introduced me, I'm a CEO and founder of Global Talent Solution Hub, which is a non-profit organization, and we support, our mission is same aligned with Mahila Udyami and IIU, which supports girls which are especially underprivileged or less economically able to go in the education. So today she has asked me to talk about how do we make education truly inclusive for every child. It is very, very important that we include every child, but it is as difficult as we are just smoothly we are talking by saying it's very easy that yes, we want to do this facility, we want to include this, we want to include this, but when it comes to the practicality, we all are different. There are some visible barriers, there are some invisible barriers. I'm going to just move directly to the what McDonough, yeah, am I pronouncing correctly? Yes. So she has mentioned
Yes,
about the
Makedonka.
European. Yes, because she has touched something about the European system, and I from London. I born and brought up in India. 23 years ago, I traveled from India to UK, and I'm here since 23 years. So I have a lot more. I spend more time in UK than London. Than India. So I'm going to talk more about the UK education policies and stuff. Yes, we have a lot inclusion policies. There are visible barriers which I was talking to you earlier, which is visible disability, and some of invisible, which is a mental disability. When it comes to the UK education policies, we include every child here, and that includes the RAMs, facility of the lifts, facility of the infrastructure or equipment. Everything is accessible for visible disability, and some of the people ADHD, kids ADHD or learning difficulties, and there are special books and the curriculum model being designed in UK, which is still in progress when it comes to India, Africa, or certain countries where the infrastructure is huge and it takes time, money, energy to develop. But inclusion is not only just including in terms of what is accessible to the equipment or facility, as our previous speaker did mention it. It's about respected. It's about belonging to that. When you are going to the education, when you're studying, a child going to the school, child should feel that the child belong to that education system, that the school environment, respected, valued, and supported. I'll give you a very small example. When I moved to London 23 years ago and I started my education in master degree MBA, big university, huge facility, everything was there, and I was struggling to get my meal. Yes, it was at that time, veganism was not that famous and was accessible, and I am a vegan because I have a lactose intolerance. So it was very, very difficult for me to stay the classes morning starting at 9 o'clock and then ending at 5, and between there is a 1.5 hour break. And that break, it was really killing me because all the restaurants, they have inside cafeteria, they didn't had a single vegan meal. Coffee or cappuccino, when you get it, there is no alternative milk, dairy milk availability. All the sandwiches had a cheese. There was a rare case where you get the vegetarian food. I struggled. I used to take a meal from home, but then there was no facility for the microwave or something which I vomit up. And that sometime, when it's a long presentation to do, or the teamwork to be done, and I have to stay longer time, I used to struggle, and I used to feel frustrated, suffocated, as if they don't care about my allergy, they didn't care about my lactose intolerance, or maybe I was not orthodox vegan person or the community belonging, but I could have, right? And the facility was not there. So this is also part of not being included. When you say that every child should be included in your education system, there are many things which is not visible or not easily available in a site where people can notice that yes, this child needs to be included unless I speak to them. So obviously I went to the admin office and I did mention it to them, and they said, Jaya, we have a very limited number of students who prefer vegan or vegetarian food, although they did implement it, but it took them a year or two because they have to go through the long system. So in nutshell, what I'm trying to say is inclusivity is not about just the physical accommodation or mentally accommodation. There are some traits, behavior, or personality a person can bring it, especially when it comes to the global education. we as a GTS Global Talent Solution Hub, what we do, we have a platform where we bring all these universities, colleges, and universities, industry experts, and students together. We do webinars in terms of empowering them the knowledge about the industry, what is happening, what's a career look like, and how we make them understand that we are a global citizen. We are not just a Indian or British or US citizen or Canadian or even European. We are global citizen, and make sure that we train our kids in an education system as a global citizen, because these kids are going to grow up, and don't forget, they're either client or their future connections where they're going to be working will be one among 10 will be international people they're going to include. So we do collaborate with we bring these US universities to India and try to collaborate with the Indian colleges, universities, and create the pathway so the student don't need to travel and spend that much money across the board and stay for 4-year, 5-year and finish the engineering. Instead, they can finish 3 years in India and 1 year only, because it's a collaborated pathway. They can finish in US, UK, or European universities. That's it. My time is up, I guess. But thank you so much for providing me this opportunity. Talk about a very, very important topic, very close to my heart. That's how do we include every child in our education system. So thank you, Virginia. Thank you, everyone, for listening to me.
Thank you, Dr. Jaya. I want to say 2 comments. One is about the last thing you said. And what's interesting is we're seeing a lot of protectionist ideology taking foothold across the US, across Europe, and in other parts of the world. So very interesting to then have the counterpoint, which is a more globalist outlook, which is in fact a reality. It can't be stopped. So I love that you were able to squeeze that in at the tail end of your comments. And just a short comment on what you were saying, because we've discussed inclusivity in so many definitions and details, is to really have education that's human-centered and heart-centered. Thereby, whatever tailoring needs to be done to the individual that comes into the educational institution, and maybe more cultural sensitivity training across the educational system. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yada. I am so happy that you were able to stay with us and be here. Definitely what you do is exactly what we're talking about, is really meeting the student where they're at and trying to, from that position where they're at, trying to make it a more inclusive world, a world where they are actually respected. Your story, your anecdote, I'm sure resonates with many people, especially when we're new, especially when we're going someplace and there is no cognizance of somebody different, right? We're not being that inclusive. So thank you for bringing that, because sometimes we forget that it doesn't have to be something so transcendental, but not having an opportunity to eat and not having an opportunity to eat the food that we need in order to nourish is very important. And we need to think about this. So thank you for sharing that. Now I would love to invite a team. I'm going to start with Dr. Leoncio, his beautiful wife, Rizalina. They're the Calderons. The Calderons are global educational leaders. And when I say global, I mean global. They go all around the world representing all of us as global citizens, people really involved in education. They are literally participating in conferences, bringing information from one country to the other. They are bridge builders. And I am going to start today with Noli, although, because I invited him, and then, of course, I asked him, and he said, yeah, Riza wants to participate. So I'm going to start with Leoncio Calderon, Dr. Noli Calderon. We call him because we care about him and we love him. They're both BICEP cohorts. They were with us in BICEP in 2024. So I am very excited to welcome you back here in IIU. So Dr. Noli, we will start with you.
Okay, thank you, my dear friend Doc Verge. So it's almost a year. So 2 weeks from now is our anniversary of our BICEP visit in India. So it was memorable. So we treasure that along with all the memories we have at E Village with Pierce Pandit, with Ermina, and all the beautiful teachers and students there in Uttar Pradesh. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to speak today. How do you make a policy in how do you make policy into practice? Implementing inclusive education at all levels sounds straightforward at first, but we all know that it's not as simple as it sounds. We all know that while it's easy to print a policy or quote a Department of Education memo or post about inclusion on social media, the real work happens inside our classrooms, our staff meetings, and our daily decisions. Today, I'll share how we do this at our school, St. Mark Integrated School in Quezon City, Philippines, where I serve as vice principal. At Smith's, we begin with a core belief: each child is capable, competent, and unique. That's not just a statement we repeat during orientations. It guides how we design our programs, how we teach, and how we relate to our students and their families. From the start, our school made an intentional choice to be flexible. We don't believe in forcing every student into one mold. Instead, we offer various learning options: online, face to face, modular, and homeschool setups. These options aren't about convenience, they're about access. They allow us to reach learners with different needs, backgrounds, learning styles, including students with medical concerns, working families, children abroad, and those with special needs. But inclusive education isn't only about what we offer, it's about how we teach. At Smiths, we train our teachers to be facilitators of learning, not gatekeepers. They don't simply deliver content. They reflect daily on how to meet each learner where they are. Teachers ask themselves, how can I teach this concept to a student who learns best through movement? Or how can I assess learning without relying on written tests? That's why we implement periodical performance tasks, PPTs, that allow students to show their learning in different ways, depending on what works best for them. We also offer academic consultations and real time feedback to students, especially those under our flexible and homeschool programs. What completes the system is not just the curriculum, but the culture. Inclusion is part of how we treat one another at school. Our values, excellence, compassion, and integrity guide even the smallest decisions. If a child makes a mistake, we don't shame them, we process with them. If a parent raises a concern, we don't brush it aside. We involve them in finding solutions. Our belief statements at Smiths reminds us that students should be holistically developed and that learning happens best when school, home, and community work together. We don't claim to be perfect. We make mistakes. We revise, reflect, and try again. But our commitment is steady. No child should feel invisible. No child should be left behind because the system refused to adjust. Inclusive education isn't about grand gestures. It's about small, consistent choices. It's in the way we plan lessons, the way we listen, and the way we respond. At St. Mark Integrated School, inclusion is not a section in our handbook. It's embedded in everything we do. And that, I believe, is how policy turns into practice. Thank you and mabuhay from the Philippines.
I'll hop in before your other half. This is really beautiful. If in an idealistic, perfect world, we could have this openness at all levels of education and in all institutions, I believe it would be a happier world. So, bravo for you. I think you really underscored that you're not rigid. You're really looking to build a curriculum and an educational system that includes feedback and input from the students and the parents. And there's no doubt that that is not an easy task to accomplish. And that's some real heart-centered work right there. I think you really raised the bar of the standards that we should all employ in education. And I definitely think you keep everyone on their toes. So that was a very refreshing perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Andrea. That's why when we look up to our friends here, especially my wife, who happens to be my boss and my principal, when I say look up, especially when she's on the fourth floor, I have to look up.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank
Virginia,
you.
if I can add that
Yes.
I really like the part that on our perspective, on the side of the teachers and educators, it's up to us to try to integrate possibilities when we make the teaching plan. This is something that is really important, I would say, and this is what we can do on individual level. Thank you for bringing this up.
Thank you. Thank you. So now I want to introduce the other part of this power couple. And yes, she is the boss, and this is why I asked her to come first, because I want Rosalina to finish it up, to round it off. They are amazing. They work great together. It's such a wonderful example. And they really do what they say they're going to do.
Good day, everyone. Hi, Hi, Virginia and Irmina. Thank you for giving me a chance and opportunity to speak. So, I'd like to start with a statement we always say, as Doc Nolly said, at St. Mark Integrated School, that each child is capable, competent, and unique. This is not just a slogan, it is a reminder. This serves as a reminder that if we genuinely hold this belief, it must be reflected in our actions within the classroom, in the office, and in every school decision. So, how do we make education truly inclusive for every child? At SMIS, inclusion does not imply a uniform approach. It means we meet children where they are and we help them move forward at their pace, with their strengths and even with their struggles. That's what makes it truly inclusive. Let me explain how this approach connects to our school's foundation. First, our philosophy, progressive, existentialist, and social reconstructionist, guides us to focus on the learner as a person. Progressive education pushes us to adapt, not just deliver. If a child has learning challenges, we adjust. If a child needs more time or another way to show mastery, we give it. Existentialist teaching reminds us this is a human being in front of me, not a number, not a label. And social reconstructionism, it reminds us that school should not just prepare kids for exams, but for life. A life where they respect others, serves the community, and stand up for fairness. Second, our vision calls for learners who are holistically developed and can apply what they've learned to make the world a better place. That starts by making them feel they belong. When child feels accepted, whether they're advanced, struggling, quiet, active, or with special needs, they learn better. They grow confident and they bring the same attitude when they interact with others. That's how they become peacemakers, not bullies. That's how they serve, not just succeed. Third, our mission is to give quality education in a safe and nurturing environment. Safety doesn't only mean physical safety, it includes emotional safety. It means creating spaces where a child doesn't fear being laughed at, compared, or left behind. In our school at Smith, we use multiple learning modes. We have homeschooling, home class, and school modes of learning. So parents can choose what works best for their child. We don't force them into a mold. We listen. We support. That's inclusion. And finally, our core values remind us what kind of educators we should be. Excellence doesn't mean being perfect, it means growing every day. It means helping each student grow at their level. Compassion. Compassion means we never give up on a child, even the difficult ones, even the quiet ones, even the ones who make us repeat the same instruction 3 or 4 times. Okay? So integrity means we are fair. We don't favor those who are easiest to teach. We serve all students with the same respect and effort. So, how do we make education truly inclusive? We start by seeing children not as who they are supposed to be by a certain age or grade, but as they are today. Then, we plan, we adjust, and we teach with patience and purpose. We remind ourselves every child matters, every child can learn, and every child deserves to be seen, heard, and supported. That is the kind of inclusive education we believe in our school, St. Mark Integrated School in Quezon City, Philippines. With you in learning, thank you so much.
That was wonderful. You know, it's good to remember that every child becomes an adult. So, and then there are more children behind us to help grow and become wonderful human beings. And the fact that you're not just drilling in a curriculum for students to be able to survive an exam, but to thrive in life as a bigger goal. And I took away 2 words, adopt and adjust. So it says to me, you're able to pivot. And in order to pivot, you know, an institution has to be nimble and flexible. And these are skills that you're also giving to the students, if I'm hearing you correctly, which will also help them in life, and not only to pass an exam or to be a good student, but to be a good human being. And then my last point is probably on best practices. It seems to me we could do, you know, like a word cloud, put best practice in the middle, and all of these descriptors that the two of you have used to describe your school would just fill this word cloud with these are best practices. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rizalina. Thank you, Leoncio. The Calderons are a force to be reckoned with. They're actually really doing what they say. I really wanted them here today because I do know of their practices. We had such a wonderful time last year, well, almost a year ago. So thank you both for saying yes in your busy schedules and really sharing what you do. It's really amazing and definitely a great example for all of us. Thank you. So now let's welcome from Peru, Ruben Garcia. He's an educationist. He's also a master in linguistics. He's an accredited teacher trainer. He's Peru's branch president of the International Chamber of Languages, and he is definitely a big collaborator here in IIU. So from Peru, Ruben Garcia, the virtual podium is all yours.
Thank you for your kind invitation of this great topic. Am I audible enough?
You are.
Great.
We can hear you and see you.
Wonderful. So the topic, making education truly inclusive for every child. Let me start by saying that creating an education system that is genuinely inclusive requires a comprehensive, multi-layered approach. Let me share with you what I consider essential strategies and principles. We need universal access and equity. We have to ensure all children, regardless of gender, ability, socioeconomic status, ethnicity, language, or location, have access to quality education. We have to adapt school facilities and resources to accommodate physical, sensory, and cognitive needs, including ramps, accessible materials, and assistive technologies. We need curriculum and instructional adaptation. We have to tailor teaching methods and materials to accommodate diverse learning styles and abilities. We have to integrate students' cultural backgrounds and languages into the curriculum to foster belonging and engagement. We have to plan lessons that provide multiple means of representation, engagement, and expression to support all learners. We need training and support. We have to provide ongoing training for educators on inclusive practices, special education needs, and anti-bias education. We have to encourage co-teaching models where general and special education teachers work together and support all students. We need family and community engagement. We have to involve families and communities in decision-making, curriculum development, and school activities. We have to offer information and support in families' home languages and accessible formats. We need policy and leadership. We have to develop and enforce policies that mandate inclusion and protect against discrimination. We have to make sure that school leaders should champion exclusivity, allocate resources, and set clear expectations for inclusive practices. We need assessment and accountability. We have to use a variety of assessment methods to recognize diverse talents and progress, not just standardized tests. We have to regularly monitor, evaluate, and adjust strategies to meet the evolving needs of all learners. We need social emotional support. We have to foster a school culture of respect, empathy also, and acceptance. Acceptance is very important. As well as we have to provide access to counseling and mental health support for students facing emotional or behavioral challenges. We have to leave apart these very important things. We are talking about emotions. We are emotional. All human beings are emotional. So we have to furnish the emotional reactions on our students. Let me conclude by saying that truly inclusive education requires a systematic commitment to equity, flexibility, and respect for diversity. It's very important because diversity is the word or the global word that everybody uses. But how about adding respect? So, respect for diversity. This involves adapting curricula, supporting teachers, engaging families, enacting inclusive policies, and ensuring every child feels valued and supported in their learning journey. This is a journey that we never finish. We, as educationists, are part of this journey. So let's travel together and reach every destiny with huge success. Thank you for your kind invitation. Greetings from Lima, Peru.
The best ceviche in the world. What I hear from you is, we are all on this journey together, in fact, and we really need to show up for the children. We really need to be there for the kids. And we do so by offering a completely comprehensive education system, which also is followed by accountability and all that entails. Thank you for your passion. If this is how you're showing up in the school and for the children, I'm sure there are going to be many leaders looking back with fond memories and bringing, really strong values into the world. Thank you, Ruben.
Thanks to you.
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you, Ruben. Thank you for saying yes. I know you are actually working right now. You're actually doing the deed. He's actually teaching right now. So thank you for finding the space. We truly appreciate you being here. And I want to acknowledge that you're a great collaborator here in IIU. So thank you. Thank you for being with us today. I would like to introduce now Sumitra Singh. And Dr. Sumitra Singh is one of those people that has such an immense heart. She is an educational global leader, but most importantly, she is the associate professor at Amity Law School in Noida, India. She's so detailed when it comes to research and when it comes to her contributions when we invite her. And I really wanted her to be here today because definitely her point of view is very important. So Sumitra, I know that you've been waiting, but the virtual podium is all yours.
Thank you, Virginia, ma'am. It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure whenever you invite me. And also, I'm really very interested in speaking topics which are of my interest. And also, it was a pleasure listening to such impactful speakers. I take a pick from Rosalina, who talked about this word acceptance. Any child would feel better and he would understand better when he is accepted. And also I take a pick from Ruben Garcia, who talked about diversity, which is what the entire world talks about. And whenever we as teachers teach in classrooms, we always keep in mind that this is a diverse classroom and that people come from diverse cultures, cross cultures. So how does a teacher teach? Which language should the teacher teach? So there are, languages which are internationally known. For example, English, Spanish, French, and there are other languages. But then how do we teach in global classrooms? Well, today's topic deals with how to make education inclusive for every child. Well, when I was thinking about this topic, I really thought that this topic comes under the framework of global education goals like SDG 4, which talks about quality for all. And I would like to present it in a context of India's National Education Policy 2020, because that also has been framed with a lot of multifaceted approach. Now, let me try to bridge the gap between the two. Let us try to understand the context first. When we talk about SDG 4, United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, it talks about ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all by the year 2030. It emphasizes, as other speakers have talked about, on equity, inclusion, quality for the marginalized groups, girls, children with disabilities, linguistic minorities, and much more. While I talk about the National Education Policy 2020, that is a transformative policy which focuses on equity, access, quality, and inclusion. Now, that recognizes the diverse socio-economic background of the learners, and it promotes a holistic, learner-centered education system, which we talk about in the global classrooms. Now, let me talk about the key strategies for inclusive education. So number one is curriculum and pedagogy reform. So multilingualism is one word. It encourages teaching in the child's mother tongue or the local language in early years. This is as per National Education Policy 2020. Then another pedagogy reform could be about flexible curriculum. We can incorporate local context in every state, in every country, in every pockets, every districts. Also, that has to amalgamate with cultural relevance and multiple intelligence. So there has been a research which says that brain functions differently at different time dimensions. We will come to that maybe in some other platform, but then it does. Then we come to experiential learning, which uses child-centric, inquiry-based and collaborative approaches. Secondly, I would like to talk about teacher training sensitization. We need to train the teachers, as Ruben said, in inclusive pedagogies, special education needs and gender sensitivity, promote continuous professional development focused on managing diversity. I would like to talk about infrastructure and accessibility. We got to ensure barrier-free schools. So there should be ramps, tactile paths, accessible toilets, even for the transgender communities, and learning aids to be provided to all the children who have disabilities, especially those who have ear disabilities, who have spoken disabilities. Learning aids also should be catered to as per the sensitivity of the children. Then we talk about the use of technology. For example, simple ones, to begin with, say for example, which Google also gives us, text-to-speech, subtitles, sign language videos, etc. to support the children with disabilities. Then I talk about equity and social inclusion. Scholarships and incentives are given in India for the marginalized communities, even for the children and the girls which come from the economically, socially weaker sections. We got to encourage community participation in the school management through the school management committees. Now, when I talk about this, school management committees are the ones which are in direct touch with the local communities. So how can the teachers, the parents and the children together with civic engagement together form the tripolar process of education? Then comes assessment reforms. We can move from the rote-based exams to competency-based assessments. Include formative assessment tools, which is now there in almost all the study patterns in India and also in different schools in different parts of the world. I talk about early childhood care and education because National Education Policy 2020, excuse me, it talks about universal access to quality for children under the age group of 3 to 6. Do you know why it is so? So there was a research which says that, these pores of the fingers, these pores don't develop before the age of 3. How would a child hold a pencil in his hand? So that is universal access to quality. And if that happens for a child who is in India, children are the same, age groups are the same. Then we got to integrate pre-primary education with the foundational literacy and numeracy course, which should be there across the globe. Of course, EdTech should be there for inclusion because this is the world of artificial intelligence and machine learning. That is also the future. Now, there are certain special focus areas. I would like to talk about girls, children with disabilities, rural and tribal children, because they need to go ahead with contextual learning and their language inclusion. So my father was posted in Arunachal Pradesh, which is a state in the northeastern part of our country. So there I grew up studying in classes 6th to 10th. There I got to know that there are 54 tribals, 54 sects of tribes. So 54 sects of tribes with 54 different languages in one state. So how should that be inducted in a contextual learning? And also, how would that be integrated with gender sensitive curriculum? All right. So focus strategies would again be what Ruben talked about, linguistic minorities. And also we have to understand about how flexible schooling models should be provided to the dropouts. Why are there more dropouts after secondary school? Why do children leave school? Why out of 100 there are 60% dropouts and only 40% children join college? So let me now talk about global strategies. This was in the context of National Education Policy 2020. When I talk about education globally, I would like to first talk about legislative and policy frameworks. Therein, I talk about to enforce anti-discrimination laws. Let all the children, including girls, refugees, children with disabilities, LGBTQAI+++, youth, and the ethnic minorities have equal rights to education. Secondly, why not adopt rights-based education policies that are aligned with the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and also with the Convention on the Rights of the Children? Then there should be data-driven decision-making. For that, we got to disaggregate education data by gender, disability, ethnicity, socio-economic status to identify and close the equity gaps, which Ruben also talked about. Then we use education management information systems to monitor inclusion indicators such as enrollment, retention, and learning outcomes. Last but not the least, I would like to talk about universal design for learning, because when we talk about SDG 4, we got to implement a universal design for learning principles to design curriculum and learning environment that are accessible to all the learners from the start till later, because that talks about lifelong learning. We got to incorporate multiple means of representation, engagement, and I think these kinds of platforms which Virginia ma'am provides us is one of them, because that is an expression to cater to diverse learning needs. Last but not the least, there has to be an emergency and crisis responsive education. For that, we require psychological support. We need to identify easily the early screening for disabilities and provide early intervention services. Cross-cultural collaboration are a definite need. And then finally, what everybody talks about is global funding and partnerships, because there are three words: you connect, you communicate, and you collaborate. And with the help of community and also with the help of civic engagement across the globe, I do believe that this tripolar process of education, wherein the teacher, the parent, and the civic engagement, which is aligned with the course curriculum, that will make education inclusive. So thank you so much, Virginia ma'am, and thank you everyone for giving me this opportunity and taking so much time. Thank you so much.
Dr. Singh, that was a very comprehensive overview, and you really highlighted how the United Nations plays such a major role worldwide as a multilateral institution, as a research institution, and as a major funder. So to the key tools that are necessary to implement this sustainable framework. And I wanted to highlight two other points. You talked about learner-centered education, and you talked about sensitivity training across DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So with that and this big picture framework, we have to go into the civic engagement, which means going local. And I also like your point about the legality of things, bringing in anti-discriminatory laws, and really looking at how are we functioning as a society and as role models for children. So it's not just this big behemoth of an organization laying over its big, powerful hand, but it's really the law being put into implementation and force and being effective, and this local engagement to implement all the sustainability factors for a really comprehensive education. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sumitra. I knew that we needed to listen to you. Every single one of you brings such important information. Something that you said that really resonated, and I say this all the time, is how important preschool education is. Early childhood education is key. And I mean, I know across the board people have different opinions, but the truth is, it's not about the education, it's how we teach at that age, right? That is really going to indicate the educational journey of that person. So definitely, thank you for bringing that up also. Thank you, Andrea, for your point comments. And now I would love to introduce somebody that's very important to me. She knows I am really trying very hard to be there for her. She's one of those people that I have not met in person yet, but I feel that there is definitely a kinship between me and her. She is from Kenya. I truly admire what she does. She's bold and she's fierce and she has a huge heart. And one of the things that I love is her commitment to her project. So I would love to introduce Marianne Namayana. I met via social media. She's an entrepreneur. She is the creator and founder of Masai Jewelry. And what I love of what she does, she has something called the Bead Project. And I think that many of you know the beauty of the handiwork done in Kenya when it comes to these amazing pieces that they're really masterful, made with beads. She does this, and proceeds from this go to allow girls to be in school. And let me tell you, she is like a mom to all these girls. And I am so honored to have you here and humbled by what you do. And thank you for waiting because I know you have another project. So I'm not going to take any more of your time. Marianne, the virtual podium is all yours.
Thank you so much, my friend Virginia. Can you hear me?
Beautifully.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Good evening. Good morning for all people. You know, time is different as we are. It's almost 7 here. But thank you so much for being in this part of this incredible session. Don't mind about the English because, as we normally say, we bought it because we learn our first languages here. So we go to school to learn English, but we thank God because we are part of those who got education. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm Mariana Mayana from Kenya. I'm from the marginalized community called Maasai people from Narok Loitan. And thank you so much because when I met you and you normally encourage me, seeing you as a lady struggling to make the lives of people to be better. Being the voice of the voiceless, and that's what we need to do as ladies or people. That's what we need to do as all of us, not only ladies, because I see even there are those men who have that heart of speaking because of other people, because of the girls, the boys who don't have the opportunity to go to school or to do other things in their communities. Thank you so much once again for this time. I'm out of home. I'm in Mombasa, Kenya. Now I had another community training here, so I decided to leave, to skip 2 lessons to be part of you here. So, and I'm so much grateful for the topic of today. How do we make education truly inclusive to every child? What I learned from there is by creating a safe and welcoming environment for the children. In my community, you get children, or you find children learning under a tree, which is not inclusive or which is not safe for them, because sometimes wind come, it blew away the books. Sometimes rain comes. It's not a good environment for them. So we have to build a classroom for them and a very good environment, so that when they are there, they will get comfortable learning and learning. Yeah, and get something from school, because I remember in my time we were learning under the tree. Sometimes the teacher will not come to teach us because even maybe it is raining, so we are just there under the tree. So we go school like 3 days without getting education. So it's so hard. So I know this. We are in the 20th century, so God is going to help those communities which don't have classroom for their children, and those well wishers will build for them, and the children will get education. Okay, number 2, I learn about adapt teaching and learning. Number 3, fostering collaboration and community. By fostering the collaboration, we are one people, different color. I'm from Kenya, you're from there, we are different for colors, but if you have a heart of helping, let's say the other places, maybe there is somewhere in India which people don't have ability to build a school or ability to get their children there to school, so you go there and help out there. Because of that, I've said that we are different color, the one people, different color, and we have to improve the world by coming together, which is collaboration. Another thing is accountability and monitoring. So let us monitor those children at school. You know, there are those who come to school empty stomach, so they can't be comfortable there. So don't just go to school as a teacher, go to teach, you have finished your lesson and go back to the where you normally go. But let us monitor them, and let us keep them, let us love them, let us show them love. Let us hear from their side, because there are those who are sick, but they can't. They don't have that. How do you call it? They don't have. They can't talk. They can't talk for themselves. But let us monitor them as teachers, and even as people who have that opportunity to go there, and we create awareness for them. We teach them. Sometimes, there are those girls who leave the school because of lacking sanitary pads. So let us go there. Let us encourage them that they will get in this period of time. You just use this one. Keep yourself clean and continue with your education. Thank you so much for your time, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne, for being a beautiful voice for the Masai and for using your incredible creativity. I see your beaded bracelet. No doubt took a while to make. And yes, being a voice and showing up for inclusion, it seems you're really exemplifying it. I also took away that in some cases, it's not just creating a safe space for learning, but also, of course, a safe space for doing your homework, which is part of the learning. Not every home has that opportunity either. But boys and girls also sometimes learn differently. Or if we go along the chain of inclusion, individuals learn differently. But the point about safety and inclusion, I think they're very interlinked. So making people feel safe physically, emotionally, intellectually, and really rising them up, and also having consistency. So if you're in a rural setting and it so happens that you're learning under a tree, someone takes a next step to create a different location, or to always have someone who's coming in to fill a vacancy or a temporary change with the educators. So we're at the ground level here, and the points that you're making and really talking about probably a very large need in the world in the 21st century, where technology is going amok. We're dealing with such basic rural communities, and we do not want anyone to fall behind. So very beautiful that you are using your voice and creativity in such an impactful way. and in beautiful Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. And thank you, Marianne. I promise you, we will get there. We are going to do it. I know that you have such flexibility waiting for me, but you are top of mind, and your girls also, and your community. So, thank you for participating. I know you have to go back and continue working, but thank you for what you do. And thank you for never letting me forget, giving me follow up. She's a great follow up. I love it because, I need that sometimes. So thank you. And you know that I am your sis and I'm always here. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would like to now introduce and bring our Manal Al-Ashkar. She is a Senior Director of Education at ITA. She is an ELA teacher, translator, editor, accredited trainer, and a researcher. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you for waiting. I know that being the last is not always easy, but we're almost there. Thank you, and the virtual podium is all yours, Manal.
Good evening, everyone, and I would like to thank you on my behalf for letting me join this webinar. I know the last moment I talked to you, but because I care about the topic of inclusive education to a great extent, and that's why I wanted to be a speaker in this global colloquium to share my experience, in fact. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be with IIU in every webinar or conference or whatever event you have. Basically, I'm here to share my experience. As you've mentioned, I'm an English teacher and I taught in Lebanon for 18 years. And to be honest, I've never heard of inclusive education. I didn't hear about inclusive education while there in Lebanon because we used to teach students, but we used to make sure that we can integrate everyone. But everything changed in my life when I came here to Bahrain. Honestly, I joined a school named Alia School, which is the most famous school here in Bahrain concerning inclusive education. And that's why I'd like to share my experience with you all. Honestly, I've learned that inclusive education is greatly important nowadays because, as we said, it gives the opportunity for every student to learn, for every person to have equity to resources, materials, chances of education, activities, and whatever. So I would like to share success stories from my experience. In our school, we have proved that every learner is able to reach his potential and achieve all possibilities that he or she has. In fact, our school is inclusive because it includes students who have autism, who have Down syndrome, who have ADHD. So while working at this school, I've gained lots of experience and I've learned that no child should be left behind. And of course, inclusive education is greatly important, especially nowadays with the advance of technology. We've become in the 21st century, so it's not allowed anymore to leave any child for any reason without education. I admit that inclusive education is a bit challenging. Why? For many reasons. First of all, we have some teachers who are still deeply rooted in the old concept or idea that not all children can learn, which is totally wrong. And I believe that, as I said, every child has a hidden potential inside him or her, especially those students who have autism, who have ADHD, who have Down syndrome, or any other disabilities. For example, our school is equipped to accept any children of these and even those who are physically challenged. But yet, as I said, it's not simple to have inclusive education. Another challenge, for example, is some teachers also, as I said, basically myself, I didn't have lots of ideas about inclusive education except after I come here to Bahrain, and I've learned that inclusive education demands a lot of professional development for teachers. They need to know what's meant by inclusive education, what strategies can be used in their classrooms so that they make sure they include every student. How can they deal with the students who have autism, for example? What activities better suit them? How can they deal with students who have ADHD? So this is another challenge, professional development, because as we know, not all schools work on the professional development for teachers. And another challenge is that the policy in some schools need to be changed, because in some schools we don't have any type of inclusive education. And once they know that the child is autistic or has any SEND, they won't accept him. So inclusive education puts us in lots of challenges, but yet I would like to share with you some success stories from our school, and it's very, very, very famous here all over Bahrain. And we have lots of students who are physically challenged or who are SEN students. They just come for us from different parts of the world, from India, from Pakistan, from Arab countries, from Africa, just because they hear about our school and the inclusive education it offers. For example, in our school, we have like some students who are completely or who are autistic, and they start their education having full shadow. So in every class, we usually have shadow teachers. So some students started having a full shadow in the lower primary classes. And then as they progress with the help of the teachers and the shadow teachers, they started having a shared shadow. This means every 3 students share the same shadow. And then when they progress to middle school or high school, they became independent, totally independent. They can work on their own, they can solve exercises, they can finish tasks, they can complete activities. So this proves that if we give attention to every child, he or she can just give them a push, like to let way out of the hidden potential they have inside, and then we will be on the right track. But of course, we need to know more about the curricula, what curricula suit these children. We might have sometimes modified curricula. For example, in our classes, we prepare for such students differentiation tasks, which means like tasks that basically meet their mental abilities, the time that they can concentrate on while solving or doing these activities. So we are all trained to work on differentiation tasks, to use with, especially now with the advance of technology and AI. For example, based on my experience, I've learned about a lot of AI tools that can facilitate their learning, that can help us. For example, let's take example napkin AI. For example, napkin AI, you can use any text to change it into a graphic organizer and to give it to the SEN student so that he or she can comprehend the reading lesson in a very simple way. There is also like DFIT for learning. Also, you can prepare lots of differentiation tasks for such students. There is also Mapify, which is used to simplify text and change them into colorful semantics, which could be also understood by such students. So I guess now in this age, especially with the advance of technology and the spread of AI tools, we shouldn't leave any child left behind. We should try to give them chance. And basically, I wish, personally, on my based on my experience, I wish that when I come back to Lebanon, I hope that this inclusive education, the same experience I had here in Bahrain, I would see it in my schools in Lebanon, because really, it's a great success, and many success stories were written. Parents are like grateful, more than grateful, for the opportunities our school offers to these students. So that's why now I have lots of ideas about inclusive education. I care a lot to know more about. I would like to participate in any event related to inclusive education, in any conference. I would like, and I feel so proud to speak about my school, because really it has proved to be amazing and exceptional in this field. And thank you so much. I don't want to take more time anymore, but I wanted to share this experience with everyone so that everyone knows that if we put this in our mind, and if our if heads of schools like come up with this policy, of course with the collaboration of the Ministry of Education, everything becomes really successful and helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Manal. That was very inspirational, and I guess we're all at new frontiers, and you're at the helm of it, utilizing AI for really its intended amazing purpose to help us, think ahead and into the future, and perhaps challenge antiquated systems of learning, and bringing down walls and roadblocks that really are unnecessary, but doing it in a way where we're bringing both natural intelligence and artificial intelligence and emotional intelligence. So that was very inspirational. Shukran.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be with you.
Thank you, Manal. I am so happy that you reached out and you said, I want to speak, because you really, really brought what we talk about, you brought it into action. We can actually see it, right? And definitely, I think that this topic is very broad, and there's so much that we can talk about and so many contributions. So I invite you all to further work with World Education Policy. And we will probably have very smaller groups so we can speak a little bit more about the projects that we're doing. But for now, we're almost done. We have 2 more speakers. And thank you, Manal, for being with us. And now I would love to bring a great collaborator, a great contributor to IIU. Nebahat Kankili comes to us from Turkey. She's a Global Schools Alliance Ambassador. She's a TAG Climate Action Facilitator, and she's a T4 Education Ambassador. I know she's a global educationist leader all over the world, and she has such a beautiful heart and such a beautiful spirit. So Nebahat, the virtual podium is yours.
Yes, greetings from Turkey. Good evening, good afternoon to all of you. I'm very proud to be part of this conference because I am an ELT teacher and I have been teaching English for 26 years. I am a bit experienced, and the topic is one of my interests. Yes. Well, it's both an honor and a responsibility to stand before you today to speak on a subject that touches the very heart of our shared mission as educators, policymakers, and advocates, inclusive education. Let me begin with a simple, powerful truth. Every child has a right to learn, grow, and thrive, regardless of their background, ability, language, gender, culture, or circumstance. Yet, across the globe, unfortunately, too many children still sit outside the school gate. Others sit inside classrooms, but remain unseen, unheard, and unsupported. This is not just an educational issue. I think it is a human rights issue. So what does inclusive education really mean? Inclusive education is not about placing children with diverse needs into mainstream classrooms or hoping for the best. It's about designing education systems that recognize diversity as a strength, not a challenge. It means every child, whether they are from rural or urban settings, whether they have a disability or are neurodiverse, belong to a minority community, or have experienced trauma, feels welcomed, valued, supported, and successful in their learning journey. So, how do we make education truly inclusive for every child? The first one is shifting our mindset. The journey starts with attitude, not resources. We must shift from asking, can this child fit into our system, to how can our system adapt to serve this child? Inclusion starts when we see difference not as a deficit, but as a richness that enhances our classrooms. Educators must be trained not only in pedagogy but in empathy, cultural competence, trauma-informed approaches, and universal design for learning. The second one is designing accessible learning environment. Inclusive education must be universal by design, not retrofitted by necessity. This includes physical accessibility, ramps, signage, assistive technologies, curriculum flexibility, that is differentiated instruction, alternative assessment, and language support, that is for migrant, refugee, and minority language students, and digital tools that aid learning for children with visual, auditory, or cognitive challenges. We need inclusive policies that translate into inclusive practices. Policies that ensure no child is left behind must be backed by training, funding, and accountability. The third one is supporting teachers. They are the key. Teachers are the backbone of any education reform, but they cannot do it alone. We must equip teachers with ongoing professional development in inclusive strategies, co-teaching models that pair general and special educators, time, resources, and emotional support to manage inclusive classrooms. We often expect teachers to perform, unfortunately, miracles without giving them the tools. Let's change that. And the fourth one is partnering with families and communities. Families are the first educators. Their voices, especially from marginalized groups, must be heard and respected. Inclusive education thrives when schools and communities collaborate, when parents are seen not as visitors but as partners, and when local values, languages, and knowledge systems are integrated into education. The fifth one is using data to drive equity. We must collect and use disaggregated data on gender, disability, income, but to understand are some groups in under the students being so this that helps us identify systematic bias and correct course. And the last one is including student voices. And let's not forget to ask the most important stakeholders, the students themselves. They know when they feel included and when they don't. Their insights are often the most honest and transformative. Creating safe spaces for students' voice, leadership, and peer learning not only builds confidence, it makes the system more responsive and real. Inclusion is not a destination, it's a daily commitment. It's built lesson by lesson, policy by policy, and conversation by conversation. It requires courage to challenge what's always been done and compassion to imagine what could be. Let me leave you with this quote by UNESCO. Inclusive education is the cornerstone of a society that's fair, just, and equal for all. Let it not be a dream deferred. Let it be a goal we actively pursue. Because when we make education inclusive for every child, we build a world that includes us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nebahat. And I want to say Turkey has very high literacy rates at least 97% and pretty equal amongst girls and boys. So you really are an example to the world. And it seems all that remains is to just continue to celebrate diversity. Because that's, really looking at all the, categories and systems and layers and different needs everywhere. Well, let's celebrate these differences rather than pushing them to the side, avoiding them, ignoring them, or making people feel unwelcome, unseen, or unheard. And I think you did a marvelous job at just rounding it up. So one more speaker to go, and thank you so
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nebahat, for staying the whole time, for helping me with the pictures. She's actually capturing everybody. So I want to say thank you for that.
Yes.
And for always contributing to IIU. Since I started 2.5 years ago, I've always seen your friendly face. You're always accepting, always willing to collaborate. And it's I wanted to finish with you and Dr. Srividhya coming up next because you have been with us for so long. And you do it with such passion, and you totally understand what IIU is trying to do in the world. So thank you for being with us today. Thank you. So now I would like to finish this roster of amazing speakers with a partner. I totally see Dr. Srividhya as a partner when it comes to IIU and what we want to accomplish with this amazing platform that's in 195 countries. She is probably our main collaborator, and it's no surprise. She is an ambassador for Royal Excellency Dr. Srividhya Sukumar. She's an educationist, a governance advisor, quality assurance and compliance expert. She's a strategic transformations R&D consultant. She's a life and business coach, an author, a columnist, a global chair for GSFN. She's an ESG advocate, and she's a global ambassador for the UN. Without further ado, Dr. Srividhya finishes up today. The global podium is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Virginia. Thanks for that wonderful introduction. Thanks, Ms. Andrea, for the beautiful moderation that you're doing. And also my previous speaker, Ms. Nebahat and Manal, and all the other eminent personalities who have joined me on stage today on this virtual podium. And we are talking about inclusion. And what's this inclusion? Our very thing which is happening here is inclusion, because we are all from different parts of the globe, and we are all united with one single thought, that education is my birthright, and it's not a commodity, it's my privilege, and I would love to have it. So on that note, definitely, when we talk about inclusion, and where does it stem from? We all know that it emphasizes on importance of creating environments where every single one of us feel valued, respected, and has equal opportunities. This definitely highlights the diversity of thought and the background that enriches communities that exclusively diminishes anyone for that matter. For example, when everyone is included, everyone wins. And inclusion is definitely not a matter of political correctness. It is the key for growth as such, when every single voice is being heard. And when we say, and when does this really happen, is that when diversity is being celebrated, is being invited for a party, inclusion will be asked to dance. And inclusion is not a political correctness, it's a key to the growth. And as moving further as such, when listening to all those eminent speakers who have spoken about every single aspect of it, talking about child as a center of attraction and, as a core content, what we need to think about. Basically, it starts from oneself. When there is openness to accept, there the inclusion stems in. And when we talk about that, it involves the 4 different quotient of study, that is intelligence quotient, emotional quotient, social quotient, and also adversity quotient. When you are very inclusive about developing your intelligence quotient, in accordance to the emotional quotient with the surrounding, where your adaptability key reaches the highest maximum potential of it with the social quotient, where you imbibe into the qualities or the virtues of resilience and also being in cohesion with the society. There we form an ecosystem of being inclusive as such, and we take forward our thoughts. And as we all know, the future of the civilization is not built in the 4 walls of the classroom as we are thinking about. When we define the word education, we think that it is confined to the 4 walls of the classroom or maximum to the campus that we are talking about. Definitely not. Education is with every single life experience. And when we talk about inclusion doesn't confine to the 4 walls of the classroom at all. Those ages and those days are all gone. where education is now coming into this laptop or probably into the mobile. So everything is there into it, and the child gets an opportunity to learn. That itself an inclusive education. So when we are talking about it, exactly when we talk about these kind of inclusiveness in the education, what needs to really happen is that the quality education. When we talk about quality educations, we have to see with inclusiveness as our core criteria, we should think about learners who are healthy, well nourished, and ready to participate and learn in any kind of learning environment, whether it is families, communities, or even the schools, which are otherwise called as the temple of learning. So these learning environments are healthy and safe, that will have a very protective, gender sensitive, and also provide adequate resources and facilities. And thereby these learning environments, which are otherwise called as schools and universities, they facilitate the learning process of the child being just labs, means education labs. So when the related content is being related to the relevant curricula, where the child is focused or the child wants to learn, with the inclusiveness being in vogue, the materials of the acquisition of the basic skills in areas of even relating it to the community. What is the success of the education? When the education is related to life. So are we relating that kind of an inclusive education, talking about how is my education is going to contribute to life in terms of anything as such, living in health and nutrition and environment, wellness being taken into care, or such a kind of holistic education, if you're talking about, then that really targets, or that's the actual cornerstone of the inclusive education that we're talking about. And when we define or when we dream about such a kind of an education, it is otherwise called as post-progressive era of learning, where educated child need not go to a particular space for learning, where the learning can happen at any time of the day, to the convenience of the child, anywhere it can happen as such. And that kind of education is otherwise called as post-progressive education, where every student is unique and the interests are being taken care with their own criteria, with their own interest, where personalized learning is achieved with the existing technology, with the help of the existing technology, where understanding comes in many forms as such. It could be any collaborative learning or independent learning, or it could be a dissemination of knowledge, or from the multiple source of information which are available, where affectation is in the highest form of knowing, mean taking forward from unknown to the known, where inquiry is the basic cause and effect of the learning from the child's perspective, from his or her own perspective, taking into consideration of all the advantages and disadvantages, merits and demerits, and also the problems that they can come in, where learning happens as a beautiful stream of study, and teachers are only as facilitators. So when we are talking about that kind of inclusion, in that note, if I would like to share my presentation as such, give me just 2 minutes. I think I will be able to do it now. Yeah. So how to achieve this kind of a very ambitious learning is that I had written a book before as such in the year 2021, which is otherwise called as Education 2050, which can be achieved in 50 different ways. I should be able to present it now. I think if I'm going to present it, where you will get the full vision of it, view of it. Yes. So this vision, how to implement this? Let's vision and devise an universal futuristic education portal, which is going to be self-directed and self-centered competency-based education, which is delivered through a satellite, not through internet. So we are not depending on internet at all. So the step one is that we need to create a domain with a well-grounded curriculum, whichever curriculum it is, whether it is British curriculum, UK curriculum, Finland curriculum, Finnish curriculum, Japanese curriculum, or whichever curriculum that you want to have, that will be there in the portal, where the content should be made universally available on any open platform like Google, irrespective of the origin of the country and the language and the clan. And the curriculum is thus designed in only the concepts to be learned according to the different age group and the levels, And this is the ready-made curriculum content, which is a repository of the concepts, resources, and task projects assessments that will challenge the student's competency. Step 2 is the domain 2, depending on the standards and expectations and the requirements of one's own study, what the student want to learn. In other words, one should be able to do choose the domain with the current country of origin. Say US means American curriculum. When it is from UK means UK curriculum, or Finland means Finnish curriculum, Australian curriculum, Chinese curriculum, Japanese curriculum, Indian curriculum, whether it is CBSE, ICSE, IC, concerning whichever certification they are looking for. Step 3 of the is that the domain 3, where the child will be able to choose their own pedagogical space and the relationship between the teacher and the student, where the teacher will come with the language of preference of learning. Whichever language the child wants to learn, the child will have the language option there to build a pedagogical space, and the relationship between the teacher with the provision of the learning preferences are also given there. With the domain 5, with the invention of the inclusive universal system of the student-centered education, tailor-made with the specifications where the learner takes the whole responsibility of the learning process, including the projects and the resources which are available there, will advance the global solidarity, ending all current levels of inequality and discrimination differences. With the assessment reports generated at the end of every session, envisage, cohort, and devise that education for all for the cost of education, which is driven by the doctrine of the people, by the people, for the people, because it is not through internet, it is going to be a satellite education. So the student get an advantage of learning it at his or her own convenience and time zone, whichever time zone it is, whichever language they want to choose, they will choose. And who is going to be the tutor, that will also be chosen by the student themselves, and the assessment is given with the report is generated, and so that the education doesn't confine to the four walls of the classroom at all, where it is open, it is universal, and it is left to the learning process which the child decides to choose for himself. So this kind of education is what I have visioned, and this is definitely coming up now, definitely in vogue, so that we don't need actually a classroom situation for learning as such, and it is open. So that kind of inclusiveness is what I'm talking about when we're talking about global education policy. Thank you so much. Thanks IIU for giving that wonderful opportunity. Always a big thanks to Dr. Virginia for the commendable topic that she has chosen for today, and thanks to Ms. Andrea for having such a patient hearing, and Mr. Leoncio. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure being here on this platform with all of you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Sukumar, and I think you're epitomizing the saying of saving the best for last. It landed extremely well. You highlighted so many of the points that have run through like a red thread of all of the amazing educators and experts and speakers today. And I feel that with this compassionate roadmap for education, you highlighted two things. One, that we are united, and if we are not, we should be. And two, going back a little bit to the idea of mindset, it is the birthright. So it should be the birthright of all human beings to have access to good health care, to have access to people who care about them in their lives, and to have access to good education, however it is formalized or brought to them. And today, with technology and with so much research and new thinking, with you, the Calderons, really everyone who's been speaking, leading the way into this next iteration, because there is a shift happening globally. And, the shift right now is happening in the form of chaos. So the strongest leaders, meaning not with the muscle strength, but with the vision in their mind and the perseverance, are the ones who are going to lead this way into this new future. And I believe you're going to be at the forefront of it with so many of the speakers today. And these are just very, very important notes for us to really listen, actively listen to, and then take into practice. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure is mine always. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Srividhya. I knew you would be the right person to have. I really appreciate your flexibility and staying with us all the way to the end. But I do know your commitment. I see it every day. And I wanted you to finish because it has the same passion that I have. And as we come to close this inaugural global colloquium, it's our first one. It won't be our last. On behalf of World Education Policy in collaboration with International Enriched University, I just want to express first and foremost our heartfelt gratitude to Andrea da Silva for her wonderful and thoughtful moderation. Andrea has been a one-woman team with me at WEP, and as we grow, she continues to lead with such commitment. Advocate Piyush Pandit trusted me with World Education Policy, and it's been a process learning and really getting to know the global landscape of where we're at when it comes to policy, especially because we do believe in having that one framework that will unify everyone so we can make sure that all gaps are filled. I want to thank every single one of our global speakers for their time, for your time, dedication, and your valuable contributions throughout this enlightening event. But I knew what you were going to say, and I study every single one of our collaborators because I want them to participate, because we're such a strong community, because we need to use these voices, but most importantly, the actions that we all do here to move forward. The majority of you are action people. You said what you spoke today, you used your voice, but what I love the most about every single one that was here today is the action. Our central question is, how do we make education truly inclusive to every child? It's not just a topic for discussion, and as you can see, we need so much more time. It is a call to action. So I do hope that today you identified with somebody, and I want you to reach out to them today. I'm going to be sharing everybody's contact, but we're all in that list. Collaborate, collaborate, collaborate. When two brains get together, amazing things happen. And I know that we can explore everything. We shared today insights, we shared stories, personal stories. We reflected upon the many challenges and opportunities that lies ahead. I have to say that personally, I'm a student with ADD, and thank God I had a mother that did not see it as a problem. She saw it as a superpower, and she was able to work with teachers that really wanted to bring out the best in me. But, not everybody has the patience to deal with students that come with certain ways of learning that are different, right? And definitely, we talked about how do you make everyone feel part of something and how can it become inclusive. And I'm just going to add one short thing. My mom told the teacher, let her be at the back of the class and let her walk around. She's learning. That was the way I learned. I didn't have to look at the teacher. If I looked at her, I would completely start daydreaming. So thank goodness we had teachers that were open enough to understand that. And I have been very grateful because ever since, I have always had people that understand where I'm at. They say you're so hyperactive, there's actually a reason for it, right? So today we have been privileged to hear so many insightful leaders, educators, and advocates from around the globe, each bringing unique perspectives. But most importantly, the passion and the commitment that every single one has demonstrated really says that we are in the right place, that this mission is important. Education is a fundamental right. We've heard it time and time again today, and it must be accessible to every child, regardless of their background, their circumstances, or their abilities. As we move forward, let us all carry the discussions that we did today to our communities. I need you in our community of World Education Policy. I need every single one of you. The ideas and the strategies that we have talked about, bring them over. Let's see what we can do together. I don't want an SDG just to say an SDG. I want the SDGs to truly be propelling us to action. Right now, we have all these conferences, all these events, and nothing happens. We need to make it happen. So mind is a terrible thing to waste. And I really urge everyone to continue to collaborate beyond this colloquium, connect with one another, foster partnerships, and keep the conversation going. Your voices and your efforts have the power to shape the future. So thank you, every single one of you, for being here. Dr. Noli, I'm so happy to see you and have you here with Riza. Nebahat, thank you for sending me all those pics. Srividhya, thank you for saying Maha and Hina. Everybody, Dr. Jaja, everyone. And Andrea, thank you for being such a partner. I do hope to do this again. See you all very soon. And remember, effective change requires persistence, creativity, and most importantly, see you soon. Take care. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Advocate Piyush Pandit for creating this amazing.
Thank you, Dr. Virginia. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You all.